Well, did you miss me? Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. That has a double meaning today. Welcome back to you, the viewer, here at the channel. Welcome back to myself here at the channel as I've missed the last couple of weeks. Been away on vacation, been doing a lot of research and preparation for prediction season, but now back in full force. We want to give a major thank you and shout out to our guy Connor Hibbett for the job that he did with those team previews. I hope you guys enjoyed those as much as I did. I hope you learned as much from those as I did. And Connor did a fantastic job with those, and he's got a few more that are coming your way over these next couple of weeks. But we're only about a month out from the start of prediction season here at the channel, which means I am back and we're going to be full steam ahead from now pretty much all the way through the end of the college football season. Now, while I was away, I'm doing a lot of studying here, studying up on these teams, exploring the country, was away on vacation. I looked at the ACC. You know, that was something I was interested in looking at. You know, the ACC last year surprised us, I think, by getting two teams into the college football playoff. You looked at that league and you said, in the preseason, it was like, it's probably going to be a one-bid league, more than likely, right? Many people thought it could be Florida State. They obviously disappointed big time. Ended up being Clemson and SMU, who both got into the college football playoff. And the more I looked at this conference as we enter the 2025 season, the more I realized they could do that again. But more than anything, this conference has some elite quarterback play. Elite quarterback play. And you could argue this is the best conference when it comes to quarterback. It doesn't mean it's going to be the best conference when it comes to overall competition. It doesn't mean it's going to be the conference with the most bids or the most teams in the playoff. But when you look at the quarterbacks across the board, the ACC has some veterans and they have some really good competitors. Now, we'll take a look at the three obvious guys, right? When you think of the ACC, I think the three major quarterbacks you're looking at here are Cade Klubnik at Clemson, Kevin Jennings at SMU, the two teams that met in the ACC championship last year, the two teams that made the college football playoff last year out of the ACC, and then Miami, you've got Carson Beck. Now, he's not a returner, he's a transfer from Georgia, but a guy that has made headlines throughout this offseason, a guy that has a lot of Miami fans very excited. Beck threw for over 3,400 yards 2 times in a row, back-to-back seasons at Georgia, 52 touchdowns to 18 interceptions. So while he's new to Miami, new to the conference, he is a proven quarterback at the highest level playing in the SEC. Clemson and SMU, Klubnik and Jennings. Klubnik had his best season yet last year, over 3,600 passing yards, 36 touchdowns, just 6 interceptions, also rushed for nearly 500 yards and 7 touchdowns. And Jennings, forget what you saw in that playoff appearance against Penn State, right? Like, that was a horrendous performance, sure. But most teams did have bad performances or tough days against that Penn State defense, especially in the cold in Happy Valley. Jennings still threw for over 3,200 yards, 23 touchdowns, rushed for over 350 yards and 5 touchdowns. And keep in mind, he wasn't even the day one starter. If you remember, SMU started Preston Stone back in week 0 last year. Preston Stone down at Northwestern. Jennings got the nod after SMU struggled early, and the rest is history. So those three quarterbacks right there are the obvious guys, the proven guys, maybe the best of the best within this conference, right? But then you go down a tier, and it's not even that much. You've got some veterans, all right? Veterans at Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh, and NC State. Georgia Tech has Haynes King, who, when healthy, is extremely tough to stop. Health is most important. You know, he battled some injuries last year, but still threw for over 2,100 yards, 14 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions. And his dual threat capability is what makes him special. Rushed for nearly 600 yards and 11 touchdowns in 2024. In 2023, he rushed for over 700 yards and 10 touchdowns. So Georgia Tech's success this year, as it was last year, they had a solid season last year, rides on the health of Haynes King because he is very, very good. The transfer from Texas A&M a few years ago finally found his calling, found his footing, and has done very well with the Yellow Jackets. Virginia Tech, we mentioned Kyron Drones. He was a guy that we had high expectations for in 2024. He did not live up to them. Was phenomenal, I thought, especially towards the end of the year in 2023. I'm hoping he can get back to that 2023 form in 2025. That's what we're hoping for, right? Last year was a bit of a down year, battled some injuries, battled turnovers. It was not that great, but neither was Virginia Tech. In a year we thought the Hokies could be a dark horse in the conference. But he's still a veteran quarterback, a proven quarterback, and a guy that, you know, on a good day, I'm not wanting to go up against. Pittsburgh's got Eli Holston, as we know, over 2,200 yards, 17 touchdowns, and just 7 interceptions last year. did complete over 61% of his passes. Could have been a little bit better there. I think 61.9%, but a guy that is a veteran for the Panthers. Remember, Pittsburgh got off that really hot start last year, did very well last year, and then kind of faltered down the stretch. And if I'm remembering correctly, I think it was that annihilation to SMU that kind of began the downward spiral for the Panthers in 2024. And then NC State, we mentioned, C.J. Bailey has over 2,400 yards last year, 17 touchdowns, but he is a mobile quarterback, nearly 300 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns last year. NC State kind of an up and down season in 2024, had a lot of questions across the board. This was a year for the Wolfpack this last season where we thought Grayson McCall was going to lead them to the promised land and do some big things for them. That obviously did not pan out. McCall battled injuries, as we know. Bailey took over playing very well for the most part and could even take a bigger step forward in 2025. So there's your obvious guys: Clemson, SMU, Miami. Your veterans: Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh, NC State. Then you got your transfers. And this is what I have, the promising transfer. Look, we're going through every team here, all right? Because that's how deep this quarterback class is within the ACC. The proven transfers, guys that have experience at another school that have transferred into the ACC. We see it at countless schools across the country. But these are guys that could quickly turn around a program and change their trajectory because of their experience from somewhere else. Take a look at Louisville. Miller Moss transfers in from USC. That is a match made in heaven because Miller Moss is a good quarterback, right? Yeah, he lost the job last year to Jaden Mayava out in LA, but we saw what he did at the end of the 2023 season. Throughout 2024, he threw for over 2,500 yards and 18 touchdowns. I think him and Jeff Brom together, a great offensive mind, and Jeff Brom, who we saw do great things with Tyler Shough, who got drafted by the Saints, Jack Plummer a couple of years ago, can do great things with Miller Moss, who's still young enough to be molded into a fantastic quarterback. And I mean, we've seen some flashes of brilliance from him already. Louisville's a team that you need to watch out for in the ACC. We're talking Clemson, SMU, Miami. Don't sleep on Louisville. How about FSU, Florida State, Thomas Castellanos? That might sound familiar because he's actually transferring within the conference. Castellanos was the starter at the beginning of last year with Boston College. Lost his job, didn't play all that great, up and down throughout 2024, had over 1,300 yards, 18 touchdowns, but over 1,100 rushing yards in 2023. So Castellanos' dual threat ability, kind of mentioning that like Haynes King, is what makes him so special. And he is, reuniting with a great offensive mind and Mike Norvell, who at Florida State needs a major bounce back year after the disastrous 2024 season. So you've got Miller Moss at Louisville, Thomas Castellanos at Florida State, Darian Mensah at Duke, another fantastic transfer. They paid him a lot of money to get him to come play for the Blue Devils, luring him away from Tulane. Threw for over 2,700 yards, 22 touchdowns, just 6 interceptions last year. His first year as a starter. He's a freshman, by the way. He's a freshman. And he completed nearly 66% of his passes with Tulane. So you've got a young quarterback coming to a power conference, a Duke team that to me exceeded expectations in year one under Manny Diaz, and now they have a young quarterback that could be their future for the next couple of years. So a fantastic pickup for Duke and another very good quarterback within this conference. Then you've got Virginia. Virginia needing a big year. Seems that they're slowly heading in the right direction, just not maybe to the point where they want to be. They went out and got Chandler Morris, the son of the worst college football coach of all time, Chad Morris. But Chandler, a pretty good football player himself, threw for over 3,700 yards, 31 touchdowns, had 4 400-yard games last year with North Texas. So he's a baller. This guy can sling it. And Virginia actually has some decent offensive weapons to go along with him. Don't sleep on the Cavaliers. They're not going to challenge for a title or anything, but they might challenge for a bowl berth. And the major reason they could do that is because they finally have some good quarterback play in Chandler Morris. And then North Carolina, year one under Bill Belichick. Obviously, a lot of headlines surrounding that, a lot of maybe negative press surrounding that. But he went out and got Gio Lopez out of South Alabama, threw for 18 touchdowns and just 5 interceptions last year, also rushed for nearly 500 yards and 7 touchdowns. A fantastic pickup by the Tar Heels, getting a proven guy, within the Sun Belt. But South Alabama, not too bad last year. Their offense, not too bad last year. Major reason, Gio Lopez. Now a perfect fit for this Belichick offense, this Belichick team, who really didn't have a clear-cut quarterback in the spring. There were guys competing for that job that we thought could be in the mix for it, but there was not one guy you felt really, really good about. They went out and got Gio Lopez. Now they feel really dang good about it. So look at that. I mean, we've broken it down from the obvious clear-cut favorites and the big dogs, the proven veterans, these promising transfers, and then you've got some unproven guys. At California, Devin Brown transfers from Ohio State. He was 3 years as a backup with the Buckeyes, so we don't know much about him. We haven't seen him in action that much. Certainly not as a full-time starter and serious in-game experience. Yeah, he played in that Cotton Bowl a few years ago, but that was when Ohio State practically opted out of the entire thing. So, how will he fare at California? Pretty much as the full-time guy now, but that's something to watch out for there. Syracuse landed Stephen Jelly from Notre Dame. And Jelly did a decent job when Riley Leonard got hurt briefly in that Fiesta Bowl, Orange Bowl, I believe, against Penn State. 772 yards, 10 touchdowns, 1 interception in his career, but very limited time with the Fighting Irish. We thought he could contend for the starting job this year. Clearly was not on track to do that, so he transfers to Syracuse. Boston College has Grayson James, who threw for over 1,200 yards last year, but they also have Dylan Lonergan, the transfer from Alabama. Interesting battle there for Bill O'Brien as we enter the fall. And then Stanford has Elijah Brown, who was fantastic in the high school career, threw for over 9,200 yards, 115 touchdowns, and 16 interceptions to go along with 3 state titles in high school. Played sparingly last year with the Cardinal, not too great, but again, Stanford kind of in a bit of a rebuild mode. Andrew Luck trying to, as the GM there, single-handedly bring back this football program to the glory days when he was a player there. And then Wake Forest lands Robbie Ashford. Ashford playing for his 3rd school in the last 4 years. Was at Auburn, was at South Carolina, now at Wake Forest as a new era begins for them. He is a mobile quarterback, though, and he's a guy that we thought had a lot of potential during his time at Auburn, never could win that starting job, now has an opportunity to do so with the Demon Deacons as they try to get back to the postseason. So this isn't to say that Brown and Jelly, whoever the starter is for Boston College, Elijah Brown from Stanford and Ashford aren't going to be good, but they are much more unproven than all the other quarterbacks we talked about. But again, you just heard us go through this list. I'm genuinely excited about every single one of these quarterbacks. I did the math there. If you take away the 5 guys in the unproven section at California, Syracuse, BC, Stanford, and Wake Forest, that's still 12 of the 17 ACC teams that have some pretty dang good quarterback play. That's over 70% of the conference that has really good quarterback play. You could argue this is the best conference when it comes to quarterbacks. And yeah, we might do this for the SEC. We might do this for the Big Ten. We might do it for other conferences. Who knows what's coming your way over the next couple of days. But regardless, the last few years we've looked at the ACC and we've said, this isn't that great of a conference. It's not going to be that competitive. It's kind of top heavy. Everything else isn't that great. That's not the case this year. Yes, Clemson is the favorite. No doubt about it. But there's a lot of teams that can challenge for that second spot. There's a lot of teams that are going to be beating up on each other. And a major reason for that is going to be because of the great quarterback play that we are seeing in this conference. Something that we really haven't seen, in my opinion, in a very long time. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. We're so glad to be back. We're so glad to have you with us as we get closer and closer to the start of the season. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home to those expert picks, home to our weekly newsletters that will begin or restart, I should say, next month. So do not miss out on that. We want you to take advantage of all of it. We want you to become a member of our GE Nation. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.